Nostalgia form. Skyshell 033. Subject: Candle Cove Local Kids Show. Does anybody remember this kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I must have been 6 or 7. I never found any reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on a local station around 1971 and 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on at a weird time, like 4 p.m. Mike Painter 65. It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland, and I was 9 years old in 72. Candle Cove. It was about pirates. I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of a cave talking to a little girl. Skyshield 033. Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from other doll parts. For a low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll that looked like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF, though. Jaren 2005. Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know what you mean, Skyshield. I think Candle Cove ran only a couple months in 71 and not 72. I was 12 and watched it a few times with my brother. It was channel 58, whatever station that was. My mom would let me watch it after the news. Let me see what I remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with a pirate. The pirate ship was called the Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was Calliope music constantly playing. Don't remember the girl's name. Janice or Jade or something. I think it was Janice. Skyshell 033. Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back when you mentioned the Laughingstock in Channel 58. I remember how the bow of the ship was a little wooden smiley face with the lower jaw submerged. It looked like he was swallowing the sea, and it had awful Ed Wynn voice and laugh. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked. Mike Painter 65. Haha, I remember now too. Do you remember this part, Skyshield? You have to go inside. Skyshield 033. Ugh, Mike, I got chills just reading that. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place he had to go inside, like in a dark cave or room, to get the treasure. And the camera would always push in on the Laughingstock face with each pause. You have to go inside. With his 2 eyes askew and that flopping foam jaw, and the fishing line that opened and closed it, it just looked so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above a very tall, narrow teeth. Kevin Hart. I honestly thought the villain was Percy Pirate. I was about 5 when the show was on. Nightmare fuel. Jaren 2005. That wasn't the villain. With the puppet with the mustache, that was the villain's sidekick. Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of his mustache. I think he had 1 eye. Yeah, but the villain was another marionette, the Skin Taker. I can't believe they used to let us watch that back then. Kevin Hart. Jesus H. Christ, the Skin Taker? What kind of kid show are we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the Skin Taker showed up. He just descended out of nowhere on his strings, just a dirty skeleton wearing that brown top hat and cape. And his eyes, his glass eyes that were too big for his skull. Christ almighty. Skyshield 033. Wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be the children's skin? Yeah, I think so. I remember his mouth didn't open and close, just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the Skin Taker didn't look at the girl, but at the camera and said, "To grind your skin." Skyshield 033. I'm so relieved other people remember this terrible show. I used to have an awful memory, a bad dream I used to have this awful memory, a bad dream I had where the opening jingle ended, the show faded in, black. All the characters were there. The camera was just cutting to each of their faces, and they were just screaming. And the puppets and marionettes were flailing spastically and just screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying like she's been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Kevin Hart. I don't think that was a dream. I remember that too. That was an episode. Skyshield 033. No, not possible. There's no plot or anything. I mean, literally, just standing in place crying and screaming for the whole show. Kevin Hart. Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you just said that, but I swear to God I remember seeing what you described. They just screamed. Jaren, 2005. Oh God. Yes, the little girl Janice. I remember seeing her shake and the skin taker screaming through his gashing teeth and his jaw careering so wildly it thought it would come off his hinges. I turned it off, and that was the last time I watched it. I ran to tell my brother, but we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. Mike Painter, 65. I visited my mom today at the nursing home. I asked her when I was little in the early 70s, when I was 8 or 9, and asked if she remembered the show Candle Cove. She said she was surprised that I could remember that, and when I asked why, she said, because I used to think it was so strange that you said, I'm gonna go watch Candle Cove now, Mom, and then you would turn the TV for static, and just watch 30 minutes of dead air. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show. And that wraps up Candle Cove. It's one of my favorite creepypastas, and if you want to stay a little longer, I'm going to play the video. Click off now if you don't want to get a little spooked. Peace out, everybody. This is Hoodie's Horace signing off.